Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, general ages, you are listening live for the first time in a long time. It's felt like forever to ATC episode number 57. We are back after a brief hiatus. As always, Brandon Lewis and Joey Schneider.
Brandon, oh my God, it feels like it's been forever. 2 weeks. This flu going around, colds. If you got kids like me, RSV. I mean, oh my God, the house of sickness in my home. But I know you were sick too. Hope you're feeling a little bit better because we are back, baby. We are back. We are talking all things Cavaliers. And in the time that we were gone, the Cavs were on a little bit of a losing streak. And then they stopped that losing streak dead in its tracks. And we are back on a winning streak, Brandon. 3 wins in a row. Cavs are 11-6, third in the East. And I would dare to even say I think that they should be second because they beat the Celtics twice. But Brandon, today we're going to start off with, we have talked a lot about this team. We've talked a lot about the starters, talked a lot about Donovan Mitchell. We're going to talk about pretty much everything today. But there's something that I think we need to acknowledge, and we need to acknowledge it first and foremost. And that is that when the Cavs bench is playing at their best, this team is when this team is unstoppable. And you can see it night in, night out. When somebody steps up from that bench and puts up 15, or multiple people put up, double digits. And that goes with almost any team in the NBA, but specifically the Cavaliers, because you can rely on Darius Garland, you can rely on Donovan Mitchell and Mobley and Allen to an extent to put up numbers. But when Cedi Osman, who has had 20-point games off the bench in a row, or a guy like Lamar Stevens bringing that crazy energy, Okoro has been decent off the bench the last couple of games. He had 13 the one night. I think he had double digits the last game as well, or close to it. And he's bringing that. I mean, his defense was locked down the last few games. Dean Wade's been hurt, Kevin Love, but when these guys are on, this team is on another level. They are not in the same universe as most NBA teams because that bench is so lethal. What and who have been to you like the biggest, not just surprise, but reason that this Cavs team off the bench has been absolutely dominant these last few wins?
I think a lot of it has been, lack of playing time. I think that there has been some instances where maybe the starters have gone too long. And again, part of that has been because there's been injuries to Kevin Love and Dean Wade and some of those key bench contributors. And Garland was out for a little bit, so that kind of messed with the rotation as well. So and now Levert seems like he's going to be missing tonight's game. So there is a lot of moving parts, and we talked about a lot about this last year too. Is it seems like when the Cavs are not at full strength, when they have a guy, whether it's missing from the starting lineup, that a bench member has to come into the starting lineup for, or whether it's a guy who off the bench, it doesn't seem like that after the first initial guys, when somebody gets hurt, they don't really have a plan of who is going to be the next man up. And then it just feels like a rotational door where they're trying things. And I think, you don't have one consistent unit. You don't have five guys outside of the starters that have played together, for a lot of minutes, playing every single game together. And so there are guys out there who are just trying to fit into their role. And then when they're not scoring well, if Kevin Love has an off night shooting or Cedi Osman has an off night shooting, well, those are your two guys that you really count on to produce scoring wise off the bench. And so when you don't get that, then you're really counting on Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell to not give you 20 or 25, but you're counting on them then to give you 35, 30 points a game. And in order to get those amount of points, they have to be in the game longer. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing for this Cavs team right now is consistency within the rotation. Some of that I think is on the coaching staff, but some of it too, I think is just they have not had every guy in healthy. It feels like seemingly since day one of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you that it seems like since the I wouldn't say since since day one when Garland went down
Yep.
when someone tried to poke his eye out from the Raptors. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was it Gary Trent
Trent, I
or
thought, yeah.
okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, and it just seems like it's been a carousel of nothing major, no major injuries, but small nagging injuries, and you could see it when they were playing games. I mean, you could see how bruised up Kevin Love is, or Dean Wade, or Jared Allen. These guys need to get rest. But that's one of the things that the bench can provide for this Cavs team. Is we talked about this before the season started when we signed Raul Neto, when we signed Robin Lopez. I love me some Captain Hook. Is that we have guys that can, Jared Allen can take a night off because Robin Lopez is he's a serviceable center, and you got Evan Mobley there to back him up as well. But I will say that this team is a different team defensively when Jared Allen is in the game. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but I want to answer the question that I asked you because you didn't give me an answer. Cedi Osman, to me, is the player that is the most surprising to me just because of how he ended last year. And while he still has not been 100% consistent off the bench this season, I would say that at least 80 to 85% of the games, he has been a consistent ball of energy off that bench, providing, rebounds, points. Like I said, 20 points the last 2 games. He is really sparking that bench. And then, when Love is healthy, and Dean Wade has been phenomenal off the bench as well. Lamar Stevens, I said name one player, and the only reason was because I was going to trap you and say, what's the, you can name anybody. This bench has been very, very good and complements the starters really well. The only problem that we have, and it's what you just said, is that when we have these nagging injuries, Kevin Love out, Dean Wade out, then you start getting into the, okay, well, we got to rely on Okoro maybe for some points. And if he's not on, which he very rarely is on, we are past the mark where I can start talking.
Yes, I completely agree.
Where I can criticize some things. Okoro, the last couple of games has been really good. Defense, fantastic, putting some points on the board. But those first few games, I know he wasn't getting a lot of minutes, but I don't think he was making the most of them either when he was getting in.
I'm always about to declare Okoro the wild card of the team because you never know, right? It's like when he's on, he looks like a real. When he can score the basketball, he will contribute for this team in big ways. But when he's not doing it offensively, we all know his defense is good. But to me, when he doesn't do anything offensively, like a lot of the defensive stats don't show up with the box score. So when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, you don't even notice him on the court almost.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean that it's kind of like Lamar Stevens provides to me the same amount of energy, but he shows it in the stats. But let's not forget, not all heroes wear capes here, because we're gonna segue a little bit on that note. Jared Allen was out for a couple of games, and you can tell that we desperately needed that defense. That and Brad Doherty on the broadcast, I'll say, has been doing a phenomenal job. He has provided some great insight into the big men, into Mobley, into Allen, and it's almost like when Garland is driving or Donovan Mitchell is driving, and he's talking about Allen, he's talking about Mobley, he's like, get the ball to the big man. Every time they do, they put the ball through the hoop. But the one thing that he said, and then he showed it, and it was perfect, was how much space Jared Allen takes up when teams are trying to drive. He takes away so many different options for the ball handler, because if the ball hit, whoever's dribbling to the hoop, if he's looking to pass, Jared Allen is big enough that he is blocking so many different passing lanes with, just the way that he moves. he's so good on defense, and it doesn't show up in the stats. The way he alters shots, the way he alters the way that the ball handler is, he's going to shoot. Is he going to pass? Does it end up in a turnover? Those stats don't, that doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but it definitely shows up in his play, and it definitely helps the Cavs win ball games. So Jared Allen on the floor is a completely different force. And I would dare, I'm not even going to say he's a second or third best center in the East. He is the second best center in the East. The only reason that he is not better than Joel, I will even say, I think he's a better defender than Joel Embiid. I think Embiid's offensive game obviously puts him over the top. He's a great facilitator for a center. Yes, he can block shots, but Jared Allen does things that Embiid cannot do as well. I love Bam Adebayo from the Heat. I think he's a phenomenal center, and he's super young, so he's going to get better. But so is Jared Allen. But Jared Allen is, and I have said this. I have said he is the heart and soul of this Cavs team, and I truly believe that, because when he is not on the floor, this team is 100% a different defensive team.
ATC fans, if you remember last year, one of Joey's first articles for Cleveland Media, he wrote about Jared Allen being the heart and soul of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I completely agree. Yes, the Cavs defense, as we know, is a lot better with Jared Allen on the floor. It's a lot different without him on the floor, because you don't have that, defensive presence that can guard the rim. But based off that, I was a little bit surprised. I will say this. To me, this is on the coaching staff. I didn't understand why, when J.A. was out, why Robin Lopez did not start at the 5. I didn't understand why they put, I think it was Stevens at the 4 and then Mobley at the 5 for, I know, at least one of those games. Like, to me, that's why you get Robin Lopez.
The fadeaway, Plumlee, good defender.
Coming right down into the lane, doing a good job, one-on-one from the corner.
I know we're talking about him a little bit. To me, like,
that Weave, Irving against Lillard.
Really well with Jared Allen.
And for 3.
Starting out right away.
I would try to
tangled up with Davis.
The Cavs are doing a good job so far, making other guys beat him.
Love flared out.
They left the wide open. They don't know. Robin's in the air. Rozi's throwing. Check 4. Well, whatever they're doing, they better change. That's love. It's deep in the key. Our hands as quickly as possible. And then they're going to have to play tough defense in the paint.
Love again.
From 23 now. 13-6. He's got 11. Plumlee doesn't know what's going on out there.
James gave it up. Love again.
The only thing I want to say is,
let's head over to the
does Robin
Casino.
Lopez have those type of minutes in?
Of 7.
That would be my argument to that. I don't think that Robin Lopez has the legs to put the type of minutes in that Jared Allen. So you might have to save him for later in the game.
Love is not in one spot at any given time.
But
just doing a lot of different.
Love again.
We don't see Robin Lopez that much at all. I think we should see him on a lot more consistent basis. But I can understand they trying something different, because I don't think Robin Lopez can do
another future NBA guy.
No,
he found his foot. Kevin Love.
I believe
we'll back him down on a spin move. Davis came to help. It left Kevin Love open.
I just think he would set the tone early. Maybe the Cavs, maybe you play the first 5 minutes, maybe you play the last,
Kevin Love had a block by Plumlee and got it back.
But without J.A.,
shot clock continues at 4. Kevin Love again.
They did not, and we talked about it the last podcast. They really, outside of a couple games, the last couple games,
faces up.
He's got 34. Not much you can do. He's going to back you down.
That they've had to crawl out of in the second half to even win some of these ball games. And I just think when you can minimize what you have to do, when guys just, I guess what I'm trying to say, when you can minimize your role and when you can try to help make it as normal as possible, like I think Lopez would help that a little bit to sort of not allow them to feel pressure to defend.
So Ohio the night before Thanksgiving, as we go right to work, Kevin Love came to the ball against Plumlee. The fadeaway, Plumlee, good defender. Kevin Love knocked it down.
And I do agree with you. Maybe starting and finishing. But I think you could actually even expand that. Like, you don't need him to go 32 minutes, but if you could play him, the first 6 minutes of the game, and then maybe 4 minutes, the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half, and then the last 5-6 minutes of the game, you're only putting 22 23 minutes on him, and you're getting, and you're putting him in those positions where either they need to, they can expand a lead or try to come back. But keeping the topic of big men, Brandon, Evan Mobley seems to be coming to life just a little bit.
Thank goodness.
I'm not going to say that he is absolutely dominating like I thought he would be, but I think that, and I'm going to say this. You look at this Cavs team right now. Darius Garland, I think, is benefiting tremendously from Donovan Mitchell. Yep. I think that Darius Garland is benefiting from Donovan Mitchell the way that Darius Garland benefited from Ricky Rubio last year. Garland was obviously someone who was we thought was going to be, more of a pure scorer. And then, with Ricky Rubio on the court with him and kind of mentoring him a little bit, his assist numbers went through the roof. Now with Donovan Mitchell on the court, his assist numbers have dipped a little bit, but it's also because he doesn't have to handle the ball 100% of the time. But he is scoring at will and when he wants to. And I think that has a lot to do with Donovan Mitchell being on the court. So this, Rubio, Mitchell, and I think that Garland is benefiting the most. But you have Darius Garland, an all-star, Donovan Mitchell, an all-star and just a star. Love Donovan Mitchell on this Cavs team. He is phenomenal. Great trade for both teams. Lauri Markkanen killing it in Utah. Love Lauri. We both love Lauri.
Utah might be the most surprising team of the league right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people thought that Sexton was like the one revolved around that deal. Markkanen, man. Yeah, we love Lauri. We wish him all the best out there in Utah, doing a great job. But Mitchell, obviously, just a monster here with the Cavs. Then you have Jared Allen, all-star. You have so many stars on this team. There's only one basketball.
Yep.
So I don't think that he is going to make that massive jump that maybe I thought he was going to make, because he doesn't need to. The one thing that he does need to do, and Brad Daugherty, again, he pointed this out on the last broadcast, and as he's saying it, I'm going, I said that, because I've been screaming it from the rooftops. The kid can jump out of the building.
Yep.
Get more aggressive. Go after the ball. You are 7 feet tall. You're 21 years old. Go after the ball. Rip it down. Throw them dunks down. Yep. I mean, he's got a great mid-range shot. Shoot that mid-range shot. He's looking. You have Jared Allen in the middle, because that's where Jared Allen plays. Jared Allen is very rarely going to step out and hit an 18-footer. Mobley can. Mobley can hit the three if he needs to. You don't need two big guys clogging up the middle like that. And Mobley, when he gets more aggressive, you can see it in the numbers. 2 games ago, he was, I think, 23 and 18 or something like that.
You can see it. I mean, the game against Charlotte, that play, I don't remember which overtime it was in, or maybe it was right before that, when he snatched the ball out of the one Charlotte player's hands. Like, that is the Evan Mobley that we thought that we were going to see. And you're right, we've seen the potential in Mobley. I think what dampens Mobley a little bit is sometimes early in games when he gets in foul trouble. If he gets 2 fouls or something in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game, usually he's out because of the situation. He's out most of the first half, so he can't really get into a rhythm of the offense or even just the flow of the game. And then we've seen him come on a little bit in the second half. That's been occasion on a couple times this year. But I think when Mobley has the games that he can have, which is got 20 and at least 10, sometimes 15, almost 20 rebounds a night. when he's aggressive on the defensive end, it leads to opportunities on the offensive end. How many times have we talked about the Cavs are a defensive first team? When they are able to force turnovers, and a lot of that has to do with Mobley and JA creating almost that wall of Cleveland that we coined in one of the first episodes of this podcast, right there in the middle, not allowing teams to get into the middle of the lane. When they do that, well, then it opens up because then teams are so afraid of Garland or Mitchell on the fast break. That leads to Evan Mobley then, who is able, or Jared Allen, who's able to throw it down with easy baskets underneath. And Mobley has the versatility. Like we saw, he can guard, guards at will. He can guard big men at will. It is just the willingness, again, to be more aggressive and get in there and show his strength. And hopefully that will come as time will come. And I think it will come even more as his body grows. We've already seen he looks like he's getting more ripped now. And I think it's only going to be a matter of time in the next year or two when he grows that full NBA body. And so hopefully, I'm not too worried yet, but I agree with you. I just want to see more aggressiveness.
100%. And I keep saying 100%, just because it's hard to argue with when two great minds think alike, Brandon. But you know what I did love the last game? At the end of the game when Donovan Mitchell ripped down that last rebound, and he didn't realize that Mobley was one board away from the double-double, and he felt so bad. Like you could see on his face, he was like, excuse me. He was almost like in shock that he did that. Yeah. And Mobley's like, no, it's good. It's good. No, Mitchell's like, no, it's not. It's not. I see. And I love that because you can see, that the team's looking out for each other. They care about each other. They're playing for each other. This is a very selfless team. And everyone is growing because of that, kind of getting back onto the bench just a little bit. Kevin Love.
Well, you guys had conversations about that. You were.
Oh yeah,
you told him. Yeah, you were adamant that Gay is.
I involvement when I heard multiple people, and then they were on one fight at the gay bar.
I'm big of every big fan of every player.
I was like, oh my God, he's gay. I was
really
scared of him. Oh God, he's gay.
These first 17 games, you can see the improvement.
Well, you guys had conversations about that. You were.
Oh yeah,
you told him. Yeah, you were adamant that Gay is best.
All these people were saying good things about
Republican,
Mobley, Okoro, Garland.
Yeah,
but
I can't get answers from the trainers really, but they're saying some of these
bigger staff saying about was Dean Wade. And he said he looked phenomenal.
I don't know what the heck he did at a gay bar.
Like, what does phenomenal?
I don't know what's
well,
going
now
on.
we're getting to see
going on a mass shooting
Dean
at a gay bar
Wade
and killing five
very,
people.
very good piece on this cast.
Well, I said if he's accused of doing that,
I'm
not gay. Oh, I think say that by gay.
I'm not saying he's a bad defender. But I will tell you that offensively, he brings that energy. He can hit that three. He can hit the three from anywhere, not just a corner three. You have to account for him on the floor. And when you have guys like that, then it opens it up for a player like Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, looking for that extra pass or looking to get to the rim, whatever they're doing. And it's, same thing goes for, Jetty and Love. And I think that's where this bench really opens up. And, we have talked about these guys so much and, so far this season and the off season is that the bench is where the Cavs are going to win because we know that our starters are phenomenal. But that bench there's no one that you can leave open for a three with the exception of Isaac Okoro, maybe Raul Neto, even though we've seen Neto hit a three. But you have to account for Love. You have to account for Jetty. You have to account for Dean Wade. And that is just something that not a lot of teams have in the league where you have to account for every single person on the court. There's been a ton of times where I've seen the Cavs leave players wide open because you just know that, you got a better chance than not that ball's not going in the hoop. And on the Cavs, there's very few players that you can say that about.
One of the things, and I know that this is a little bit off topic, but I believe he's going to be back soon. One of the things that I think will help this bench tremendously is when Ricky Rubio gets back.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Rubio, we talked about a little bit the inconsistency of the scoring of the bench. Having a true point guard, and not saying that Neto isn't a decent backup point guard, because he is, but Ricky Rubio provides that perfect sort of 6-man role, that point guard that can be the head quarterback, if you will, of the second unit and set everybody up. Whether it's Love or Dean Wade or Osman, or whoever they want to bring off the bench. Stevens, with his scoring ability and with his passing ability, it will open up everything. And to your point about Dean Wade, I agree with you too about him, being better offensively. There's been nights too where we mentioned this a couple weeks ago. He's not the best defender, but he will make key defensive plays. Late in the ball game, he will make a block. He will make a contest. He will fight over screens. He will get in on the ball. When Dean Wade is out there, you almost notice it immediately. And I also think he benefits too, off Mitchell and off Garland and off Love and off Mobley and off these and off Allen, really the versatility, because he's a big guy, but it's like, the opposing teams don't get any rest. If you got Mobley and Allen are dealing with starters, well, then you got Love, who teams are very afraid of, obviously, him getting hot and knocking down threes. We don't see him a lot in the paint anymore. He more camps out outside now. But if they go to cover Love, well, you could have Dean Wade, somewhere else on the court, who's very similar size to Love, who and a similar body type as well, who, when he knocks down the three and when he can hit that mid-range shot, it's another added weapon to the Cavs offense that is making them, again, very hard to guard. It's just, can they make their shots? That's the biggest key for them, I think, is consistency.
Yeah. I do have a question for you, Brandon. I like to at least once an episode hit you with something we don't talk about. Outside of Garland and Mitchell, who has been outside of Garland, Mitchell, Allen?
Okay.
Who has been the star of this team?
Ooh.
Who has been able to take over a game when needed outside of those guys?
That's a difficult question. LeVert obviously did it once against Boston, but I don't know if LeVert's been as consistent to say that. Jetty has had games that are, really good, hit or miss. I think over the past couple of games, I have really seen what I liked out of Lamar Stevens. I really do. I think that he needs more playing time. I think he has been the guy to where he again, with all these injuries and with Love struggling, what you're gonna get out of Lamar Stevens to me every single night. And I know he wasn't playing as much as of recently, but I think that he is a guy who has been tremendous in the Cavs winning streak as of late, to get them back to this freaking winning streak, because he's producing on the offensive and defensive end. And so if you take away those stars, to me, the guy who's had the most impact in terms of winning as of late, to me, has been Stevens.
I'm gonna go, and even though he hasn't played the last couple of games, I'm gonna say Kevin Love.
Okay.
And my reason is this: Kevin Love is a floor general. He plays under the rim, but his basketball IQ is off the chart. He's had the benefit of playing with LeBron and Kyrie, and he's won a championship, and he's been through the rebuild, and he's stuck with the Cavs after everyone said trade him. It's, and now here we are, and he's the guy who you can put anyone on the floor with him, and if they aren't quite sure what they're doing, he can direct traffic. He can make ridiculous passes, and he was off. His shot was really good beginning of the season, and then he got that injury to his thumb on his shooting hand that we know of now. So he's been a little off, but he's getting that healed up. It's not a serious injury, I don't believe. But to me, I think Love is the one player who, and Love, they've had Love start games.
Yeah.
And he's played big minutes, and he is just taking charges like crazy, like he does. And that's where that basketball IQ comes in. finding the open man, being able to hit down, being able to hit the three. The one time he dunked it this season, it was like the biggest dunk of all time.
Yeah.
So for me, a healthy Love is just as important as almost any other player on the team.
I guess the reason why, and I agree with you, the reason why I didn't go with Kevin is because I haven't noticed the impact. Like unlike last year when Kevin came in, it was charges, scoring. I haven't noticed the impact as much this year, and I think part of that is because Mitchell and Garland have just gone crazy. And I think again, and I agree with you. There have been a lot of unsung heroes on this night. There hasn't been one guy that has kind of led this team outside of the big three, but the big three and really big four, if you will, if you include Mobley, they have been the four leading drivers. It's just they need one other person, whether it's Levert, Osman, Love, Stevens. They need that one other person or two to give them 15, 20 points a night. Because when Jared Allen's out there, if the Cavs give up 110 points, it's going to be a shocker. You know what you're going to get on the defensive end of the floor of this team. We know on most nights what we're going to get offensively from our stars. What we need is, can one or two other people give you that extra 10 or 15 points where you can then put pressure on the offensive end for those guys to score, and that's where the advantage for the Cavs being a defensive first, defensive minded team comes into play.
Yeah. So I don't know how deep we're going to get into this because we hit on it a little bit earlier, but I just kind of want to recap. Darius freaking Garland, yes. Brandon. Darius Garland is, I don't even know. I'm trying to formulate my thoughts because when Darius was out, Donovan Mitchell was putting up 30 points a game every single game, and the Cavs were on this big winning streak. I was like, oh my God. When Darius Garland gets back, is he going to take a huge step back when it comes to points? And the answer to that is no. If anything, he has been more efficient. Yeah. I mean, he had a 10 3-point game, which I believe was like the second in Cavs history.
I believe so.
I mean, it feels like every game or every other game, there's something going on that
somebody in history.
Yeah. But Darius Garland is not taking a step back at all from being the all-star that he was last year. I think if anything, he has taken a massive step forward this year thus far, being able to actually play alongside Donovan Mitchell, which this was a question that me and you had. This is the question that we talked about last year before the season, right before the season started. Could Colin Sexton and Darius Garland coexist together? Because it was going to, it's like a Dame and CJ McCollum situation. Is it going to be able to work? And I can wholeheartedly say Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are a ridiculously good backcourt, maybe the best backcourt in the NBA. I don't know if I can think of another. Can you think of another? I mean,
good. Right now, probably not. I mean, a lot of the duos are mostly shooting guard, small forward combos.
Right.
So just in terms of backcourt, you can make an argument for CP3 and Devin Booker, though CP3's been hurt. Yeah. I mean, so
that's the only one I can really think of.
I mean, I think just in terms of backcourt, those guys, yeah, I think they're right up there, at top of the league. My one concern, and I love what Garland's been doing. I love the numbers he's put up. My one concern is, yes, the numbers are great, and I don't care about the assists being down because his assists are down a little bit, but when his assists are down, Mitchell has picked up the pieces. There's some nights where they can both have 7 to 8 assists a night. My one concern is sometimes it feels like when Garland or Mitchell, and even both of them, when they're both hot, the Cavs do get a little too Mitchell, Garland reliant, I believe at times, where it's like, hey, get out of their way. We're gonna play iso ball. We're gonna just put up shots, and sometimes they make it, and it works really good, and they can put up a lot of points. But when the Cavs are in close ball games, and again, this is part of the team learning how to win because they are so young. They go back to either it's Mitchell or Garland. It feels that they take turns sharing the rock, and it's not a lot of ball movement. a lot of guys are stagnant, and it hurts the flow with the offense, and it creates turnovers, and it creates layups on the other side of the floor. And so I feel like sometimes they need to not share the ball more, but not be as reliant on Garland go get 30 something, because he can do that every night. But in some circumstances, like the Minnesota game, it's just flat out like bombing threes away, and he's making them, and they're doing the great comeback and all that. But it's almost empty calorie points, if you will.
I see what you're saying. I do want to point out Garland is only averaging less than he's averaging 7.8 assists per game. Last year he averaged 8.6, so less than 1 assist per game this season, but he's averaging 2.2 more points per game. So he's scoring more, and his assist numbers are pretty much right there.
It just feels like,
I think it feels like it because Donovan Mitchell's putting up 25, 30 points a game, and you're not really realizing that, Garland's probably assisting on a lot of those points as well. But Garland, to me, I mean, I think that he's just taken, we've said, last year he took that step towards being a star. I think this year with Donovan Mitchell, right now he is proving that there is room for 2 stars, bona fide stars in the NBA, in this Cavs backcourt, and this backcourt being one of, if not the best in the entire National Basketball Association. I think Garland is doing amazing things. He's doing a phenomenal job. He's not backing down. He's not shying away from the spotlight. If anything, he wants more of it, and that is exactly what this team needs. I can even imagine. I can see a Garland Mitchell All-Star backcourt in the All-Star game.
When he gets hot, Garland, I'm talking about, he reminds me, and I said this a couple times on this podcast, he reminds me a lot of Steph Curry. But even more and more, like, when we would play Golden State, there was 4 straight finals. I know, obviously we had Kyrie for 3 of those years, but we would always be like, can we find somebody that could hit a shot and get as hot as Steph Curry in Curry range? And Garland, I mean, he has taken that level to the point where, again, we talked about how special Donovan Mitchell is. Darius Garland has went from good player to pretty good player to great player to star player. I am almost ready to put him into that superstar like category where I think DG could carry this team on any given night. And on any given night, DG or Mitchell, for that matter, really can drop 50, and you wouldn't even be surprised because it feels like they're scoring effortlessly.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what this team's been able to do and what he's been able to do. A lot of people said Garland was the 9th or 10th best point guard in the NBA.
Not now.
So I'm just going off this. Is Darius Garland better than Drew Holiday?
Yes.
Okay. Is Darius Garland right now better than Chris Paul?
Yes.
Okay. Is Darius Garland right now better than Damian Lillard?
I would say yeah.
Here's one that I mean you will have. Is Darius Garland better than John Morant?
Ooh.
I'm gonna say not yet.
You know what? I love John Morant.
Yeah.
I love John Morant. I think it's close. I would give a little edge to John. I think it's really close though.
They for some reason I hear they have James Harden at number 4. I would take Darius Garland over James Harden in a heartbeat.
At this point, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Trae Young.
I think they're dead even.
I think
they're the exact same player.
Luka Doncic. They have his point guard here.
They have him as a point guard.
I'm going to say you got to go Luka there.
You have to.
Just because he could be the versatility.
And I'm sure Steph is one.
Steph is one. So I would say that Garland would be tied for 3 or 4 in the NBA. I mean, because behind him they got Kyrie. I'm taking Garland.
Oh, it's not even close.
LaMelo, Jamal Murray, Fred VanVleet, Marcus Smart, De'Aaron Fox. I'm taking Garland over all of them. CJ McCollum, Tyrese Halliburton, Lonzo Ball, Jalen Brunson, Russell Westbrook. I'm taking Garland over all of them. And after that, just starts kind of getting silly a little bit. Lowry, Mike Conley, D'Angelo Russell, Cade Cunningham, Josh Giddey. I don't know why Josh Giddey's a point guard on here. Oh, you know who I would put in the same category as Garland and Dame, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Thunder.
I'd probably take Garland and Dame over him right now.
I don't know if I would. I would. The only reason, you know what, I would, and the only reason is because I don't know. You know what? I think that he's in that exact same category. He is putting up ridiculous numbers, scoring, assisting, rebounding. Like he's a little bit taller, so I would put him right there. So, but I would say that I would say Garland's a top 5 point guard in the NBA. Putting him at number 9, I can understand preseason, but 17 games in, looking at this kid and what he's able to do with a star that we didn't know if he was going to be able to play with in the backcourt and Donovan Mitchell, and doing what he's doing, he is a top 5 point guard in the league. And maybe by the end of the season, he might be a top 2, top 3 point guard.
If you guys remember, I think this was our last off-season episode before the season started. Joey asked me if I would trade Evan Mobley straight up for Trae Young. And I probably said yes. Sat here for about 5 minutes and thought about it. Because in the back of my head, I'm thinking, you got Trae Young, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. You have all these guys on the court. Who the hell is going to stop your offense? I mean, the only thing that's going to stop it is if they miss 15 shots because they're streaky shooters. But I mean, just thinking about it, that Atlanta game was so fun Monday night. So fun watching, two guards like that could shoot the hell out of the ball, go back and forth. Again, I think Atlanta, I think Trae's very similar to Garland. And, but I mean, I love what I'm seeing out of DG. I love what I'm seeing out of Mitchell. I love what I'm seeing out of everybody. As we talked about, the last time we recorded, you could make an argument that Cavs could have 2 or 3 losses this year. The fact of the matter is they are a young team and they have to learn how to close games. We'll see here moving forward. But Joey, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at the next week in Cavs action. Kicking it off with tonight, we have, I believe it is the team that you picked to be the surprise of the NBA, the Portland Trailblazers.
And they have been. They have been very good this season. I believe they're, I'm not sure what the record. I want to say 10-6 or 10-7. I don't know if they won last night. I can't remember, but they
are 10-7.
Yeah, they're doing good things. And the reason is because they went out and they got Jeremy Grant. They Josh Hart, who I think is a very underrated player. They got him. Anthony Simons, I mean, developing so well, and really a nice compliment to Dame, playing at the shooting guard. And that, Nurkic, good center. I don't know if he's playing or if he's still hurt, but it's a very good team. That's a team where I don't know if you have to account for everyone off the bench, but I know you have to account for every single starter. So that's going to be a really good matchup. The one thing that the Cavs do well, though, and I'm going to say this, the one thing the Cavs do well is if a team has more than one really good player, now I don't, like, to me, Jeremy Grant, Dame Lillard, Anthony Simons, 3 really good players. Yeah. The Cavs do a good job of shutting down really good players, at least one really good player. Against the Hawks the other night, they shut down DeJounte Murray. Yep. Trae Young didn't even have that great of a game, and that was because they were putting a lot of pressure on him. When we played the Celtics, Tatum's going to get his points. Jaylen Brown's going to get his points, but we did a good job of
go crazy.
Right, we did a good job of not allowing them to go crazy. The Cavs do a really good job of shutting down. The only person that I can really think of that really beat the Cavs was Curry. Yeah. I mean, that was, and I mean, there's there's just times when you're going to play Steph Curry, and when he's on fire, there's nothing
you can do.
I mean, you can triple team him, and he's going to just shoot it into the rafters, and it's going to touch nothing but the net. But that's going to be a very good game tonight. It's going to be a very good test for the Cavs. I'm going to say that the Cavs are going to come out with a 4-point win.
Cavs have struggled against West Coast teams this year. They have done a very good job
on the West Coast,
East, but they have struggled, on the road. Yeah, but Minnesota. I mean, you could say that was kind of a road game because they always say the first game when you come back from home after a long West Coast trip is kind of a road game. I think it's a really nick and tuck close battle tonight. I think the Cavs win. I think it's close. I agree with you, 3 to 4 point victory, but I think the Cavs do get this win tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to Friday, when the Cavs get another chance at Giannis Antetokounmpo. They actually did pretty well with covering last week until Brook Lopez went off and hit 7 or 8 threes, and Milwaukee ran away with it in the second half. Cavs Bucks. Jared Allen did not play in that first game. He should be playing as long as he's healthy tonight. We'll be playing Friday against Milwaukee. Still not picking the Cavs to beat the Bucks. Until they do it, I can't do it.
So I picked the Cavs to win that game, the first game, even though on my sheet I had them losing. I had them losing that game. So I'm going off of what my preseason schedule looked like. And I'm saying, so they lost that first game. I had them winning this game. I'm going to say the Cavs win it. And the Cavs, and I'm going to say, for some reason, I think the Cavs are going to win by about 10.
Okay. So you're back on, you think the Cavs are going to get revenge over Milwaukee? I've
been going with my heart. I don't think I've said the Cavs are going to lose a single game yet.
I don't know if you have.
I don't think I have, but I should have, because I went through the entire schedule, gave everyone my prediction on our what was that? Was that 50 episode 51?
Probably 51, yeah.
Yeah, 50, 51, something like that, 52 maybe. Our start of the season episode. And I had my schedule, and I had the Cavs losing that game, that first game to Milwaukee. But then I switched it because I'm like, okay, well, Middleton's not playing, and I was trying to go, and I'm like, oh, the Cavs are going to do it, and I should have stuck with my gut. But I have the Cavs winning this game. Not only is it a revenge game, but I had them winning it anyway. I think they're going to win by about 10.
And then they begin a back-to-back on the road. First one is in Detroit on Sunday, and then Monday they will be in Toronto to take on the Raptors. I think they split. I think it's really hard to win back-to-back games on the road. They demolished Detroit the first time without Mitchell, without Garland. I don't think it's going to be that big of a freaking ass kicking, if you know what I'm saying. I think Detroit will play harder. I think that they're not going to want to be embarrassed like that again. But I think the Cavs will pick up a win.
That is a very hurt Detroit team.
Yeah,
they got a lot of injuries. The Cavs are definitely taking that one.
And then Toronto, to me, is going to be the harder one, right? Your second game back to back. You're going back up to the Air Canada Center, the place where Darius Garland got his eye poked out. Cavs are looking for revenge from opening night, but I think it's another replay of opening night. I think it's a close game. I think Toronto ends up getting the victory by 3 or 4 points.
So I'm going to answer this 2 ways. Okay. If the Cavs are healthy and they have players back in the lineup that Dean Wade is playing, and maybe Love is back and LeVert's playing, I'm going to say the Cavs are going to win this game, especially considering the fact that Darius Garland is 100% going to want revenge. He might try to take someone out. He's going to try to take someone's eye out, maybe. Oh, yeah. But if the Cavs still have guys who are hurt, maybe LeVert doesn't play, Love doesn't play, then I think it might be another repeat of the very first game, extremely close. Someone's going to have to scrap it out and win. And if that's the case, I think that Toronto takes it. But if we get more help players coming off the bench that are healthy, I think the Cavs are another revenge game. I think the Cavs are going to take it. So I'm going to say that it is We will come back next week, and if they win because a lot of players are back, then I will say, see. And if they lose because a lot of players were hurt, I'll be like, see, I took them to lose.
And
So,
then finally, Joey, I'm very interested in this game because unlike last year when these two teams did not meet until February, the Cavs are taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, last night, they absolutely clobbered the helpless Brooklyn Nets, and they didn't even have Max, Joel Embiid, or James Harden. So, who knows what their status is going to be for this game coming up a week from, it'd be a week from today at the time of this recording, next Wednesday. But if Philadelphia is healthy, man, like last year, like Philly was the Cavs kryptonite. I think it's a different game with Donovan Mitchell in there. But again, until the Cavs beat these top severe teams in the East, until they prove they can do it, I think it's I think this week is going to be very stressful on all of us Cavs fans. I think there's going to be a lot of very close games. But at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but I think in this stretch, I think the Cavs are going 2-3. I think they dropped this one at home to Philly.
You mean 3-2?
Wait, did I? So we have no 2-3.
Oh, 2-3. Okay.
I have them beating Portland. I have them beating Detroit. I will have them lose to Milwaukee, lose to Toronto, and also lose to Philly.
So I'm going to answer this one kind of the same way as the Toronto. I think that Joel Embiid, if he is playing and he is healthy, if the Cavs lose, it's going to be because he put up 50 points and 20 boards and 10 assists. He's going to have to. He did that last year against the Cavs. He by himself beat us. I think if he has one of those games again, the Cavs will lose. But if the Cavs hold him to pedestrian star numbers, maybe he has 30 and 10 and 7 or something like that, I think the Cavs take the win. So I'm going to say the Cavs potentially could go 5-0.
So again, like there's a potential. We talked about this the last time we did. Like, I think the 3 games we did was what? Golden State, Milwaukee, and Minnesota. I think. And
if I'm going straight based on my gut, I think the Cavs are going to beat the crap out of Detroit. I think the Cavs are going to go in and get that scrappy win over Toronto. And I think that the Cavs are going to beat the 76ers. If I'm going, and my thing is this is a different Cavs team than it was last year. Donovan Mitchell is an X factor the Cavs did not have last season. They were running 3 big men, which, worked fairly well, until Rubio went down. And once Rubio went down, that's when the season started going down. Then we got some injuries late in the year and all that. We've talked about it a million times over the last 57 episodes. But I'm going to say this. Donovan Mitchell cannot be, and especially that first Toronto game, Donovan Mitchell was great.
Yep.
But this team has matured since then. We did not have Darius Garland after, I think, the beginning of the second quarter of that first game. If we did, is that game even close? I don't know. The Toronto they have not been fantastic this season. They've been, fairly good. They've had some bad games too. I think that the Cavs, so I'm not even going to do the if this and this. No, I think the Cavs go in, they take care of business against Toronto. And I don't think Philly has an answer for Donovan Mitchell. I think that the Cavs are going to be, I think Jared Allen has something to prove against Joel Embiid, and he's going to prove it. It's going to be a tight game, but I think the Cavs come out with a win there as well. I'm going to say the Cavs are going to go 5-0. It's probably unrealistic, but in my mind, I am justifying it because the Cavs are that damn good.
So this is where Brandon has turned back into the pessimistic Cavs fan.
Man.
Apparently, because I got them going 2-3 this week. I think that they need, yes, they did beat Boston, but they need to show me that they can beat Philly, Milwaukee, and Toronto before I pick them to do so. Because I think they can beat Toronto, but it's going to be hard coming off a back-to-back. I think back-to-back, going up to Canada on the road when you were already on the road the night before, I think that's really hard to do.
It's like a It's like a 45-minute flight.
It doesn't matter. It's travel. It's travel. It is the grind of the NBA season. We've seen weird things happen every night. You never know what you're gonna get. But the Cavs have the potential. And I do think that later in the season, if they were on the schedule, I think that when they get their group together, they might be wins. There's just too many unknowns right now. There's too many things where they could be dominant, but they also struggle a lot too, I feel like. And so I'm not there yet to say this team is taken off yet.
5-0. I know I'm going against my schedule, but I just have a feeling this Cavs team is going to rip off a whole bunch of wins. And I don't know. Donovan Mitchell, the X factor, some of these teams we haven't faced yet. Like I said, Toronto didn't see the Cavs a full game with Mitchell and Garland. I think they're going to take it. First time we're playing Philly, they haven't seen the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell on the floor. He is a superstar. He is an X factor, and I think that a lot of teams are going to struggle to figure that out that first game. I think that the second games are the ones where they're going to be a little more prepared. So I'm going to say that by the time we come back next week, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be 16-6.
Well, Joey, I hope you are right. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this extra special long edition of All Things Cleveland Cavaliers. We apologize, both of us, for a constant coughing throughout this episode. The reason why we didn't record this week, we both have been sick. So we hope that you and your family have been well. We hope you enjoy this holiday season. And Joey, you got the last words for today.
Yeah, tomorrow is Turkey Day. Very excited about that. Everyone have a happy holiday. And we will see you next week with a 16-6 Cleveland Cavaliers team. Brandon, I'm going to end it because I want everyone to know to let them know